Hello and good morning, lovely folks of the YouTube channel. Welcome to a live reaction, and I do mean live because I have, told myself that I will not look at any social media, any screenshots of all these ban list updates until I see them for myself, because I want to go through their explanation. Because honestly, that's the most important part about these ban lists, is them discussing why they're making changes or not making changes. And without further ado, here it is on your screen. We can kind of spoil ourselves a little bit where it says announcing changes to the modern and legacy formats. So, there's a certain P word that is missing from that statement, but let's go ahead and do a little zoom in so I can try not to spoil myself. And here we go. August 7th, 2023. Banned and restricted announcement, one at a time. Let's start with did I not call that one? Modern Preordain is unbanned. Now, I'm curious to see if Ponder is also going to be on this list. For those of you who not familiar with Preordain, it's scry 2, then draw a card for 1 blue mana. Now, again, on my unban video, I did go ahead and say this card could get unbanned. We did talk about that, and I like to say, I told you so. Alright, so Preordain unbanned. That's really sweet. Going to help the blue decks a lot for some card selection. Let's see what else we got here. Moving up next. Okay. So, Preordain unbanned, nothing to the ring, nothing to any of the MH2 elementals that we maybe thought, nothing to the Cascade decks, so just Preordain, huh? Interesting. I mean, big change nonetheless. That'll definitely, it's not going to shake the format up too much per se. It's going to maybe add some consistency to decks, but it's not going to make anything not going to make any huge waves or anything like that. So Legacy, this one we didn't talk about too much, but we can take a look. I don't know a ton about Legacy, but I know this card's broken. Mind's Desire. This is for Storm lovers out there. 4 blue. It's got Storm, and you can basically exile cards, and you can cast those cards for free. It's a really sweet card that I feel like a lot of Legacy players have been asking for its release for quite some time right now. So that's going to be all the changes. Interesting. Well, unfortunate that they did not touch Pioneer. Therefore, I don't really see myself playing a ton of Pioneer in the upcoming future, maybe here and there. Preordain being unbanned, sure, we'll have some videos with that the next couple of days and weeks, but yeah, this is, there's not a lot here. So let's talk about their explanations. Because, like I said, this is honestly the most important part for me. Alright, so in the last announcement, we talked about the new cadence of changes in standard rotation growing from 2 years to 3. In that article, we stated that most format changes would happen once a year at this timing, just before previous to the fall set, that normally accompany a rotation, which, that's a good thing. While our goal is to make changes only once a year to promote more confidence and stability in Standard, which, again, Standard is a format there, that is the format that is most marketed towards newer players, so they want to make sure that they make as little changes as possible to Standard, and I understand that, because if you're a newer player, you buy into Fable the Mirror Breaker, it gets banned, there's a lot of feel bad there, I get that. We've left ourselves a window with each major set release. The next one is October 16th, which, if I recall correctly, is right around when Wilds of Eldraine comes out. Plan to use sparingly, and the smaller window will be more amenable to make changes to normal setting formats over Standard, because the previous announcement also contains several changes to Standard, and because the format has looked healthy and varied in that time. Focus on Pioneer. Anyways, Modern, Legacy, and Vintage. Unless there is a significant issue, expect our next standard update to happen next year at this time. Cool. Alright. Preordain is unbanned. A lot has happened in Modern since our last Pro Tour level event, which also took place in Barcelona 4 years ago. That was the one that Toffel won with Tron, I believe. I think he beat, I can't remember he beat Scales in the finals, I think. During that time, various strategies rose and fell, more changes we made to the BNR list. We released Modern Horizons 2, for better or worse, and Modern transformed into a more interactive format. That is true. Recently, our third set with direct to modern legality is Lord of the Rings: Tales of Middle-earth, released to set the stage of the Pro Tour that occurred last weekend. Early buzz was that the One Ring, being a powerful colorless artifact, was showing up in a lot of different decks, with Orcish Bowmasters picking up steam shortly thereafter. When the metagame preview for the Pro Tour was showcased, it was initially concerning. While the metagame share of decks is in normal ranges and is relatively diverse, the play rates of brand new cards in the One Ring and Orcish Bowmasters as the number 1 and number 2 cards, which, to be fair, if you're having a Pro Tour centered around Lord of the Rings cards, you would think that for the most part, if those cards are being showcased on the main stage, for the most part, that may be a good thing. Something we rarely see in high-level Eternal tournaments. That is true. Maybe with the exception of, like, the Hogak Pro Tour, because I think that was... I don't remember if MH1 was directly, like, that was the newest release at the time, but it's similar to that. As we watch the tournament unfold, and after we had many conversations with players both competing in the Pro Tour as well as attending MagicCon Barcelona to play Modern, much of our concerns subsided. A variety of decks are performing well, and the games and interaction within those games looked healthy. We saw some amazing matches over the weekend that were textured, interesting, and interactive. I mean, there was a lot of Tron mirrors, right? I don't know if you can really call Tron mirrors interactive. While it is true that those two cards made big waves of the Pro Tour, and within the format, these cards, the One Ring particularly, can fit into a variety of decks and a spread of macro archetype strategies to comfortably compete within the format without overshadowing everything else present in Modern. That's somewhat true. I mean, it does fit into a variety of decks. So many different decks that can utilize the One Ring. I guess the question, that a lot of people ask are the play patterns healthy? Right, because you're drawing a ton of cards, it's giving you built-in protection. We'll see if they mention that. Games can be frequently decided by having the One Ring in play for multiple turns, true, but the bar for 4-mana cards being too strong in a format as powerful as Modern is high. Also kind of true, like, you don't see a ton of 4-mana cards that are like commonly played in Modern because of the speed of the format. Not many games are quickly decided by a runaway from either the One Ring or Orcish Bowmasters, allowing players to play longer interactive games with plenty of back and forth. Must have witnessed Urza Saga recruiting Haywire might to take care of the One Ring about a dozen times. True. Which begs the question, who is the real hero of the story? Sure, that's fair. There are answers to the card in the format. That you're not wrong. That said, while we aren't taking action against any cards from Lord of the Rings, they want to be clear that these cards are on our radar. Good to know that they're watching it for the future, because I know a lot of people are talking about the One Ring needing to get banned, myself included. Despite the healthy tournament results and there seemingly being plenty of wiggle room to explore further in the format during the upcoming regional championship qualifiers, the play rates of those cards are still high. We'll be monitoring the long-term fun of the One Ring's play pattern, especially given its ability to be looped and or reset to repeat its enter the battlefield ability. Similarly, Orcish Bowmasters has done a substantial amount of work to suppress 1 toughness creatures in the environment to the point where Ragavan isn't seeing much play in the format outside of Rakdos Evoke. I mean, yes, but that was kind of already compounded prior to Bowmaster with Ren and 6 and Fury, so is that really Orcish Bowmaster's fault? Who's to say? So why are we unbanning Preordain? Good question. While it's not something that we do often, we are interested in finding opportunities to reduce the size of the Modern ban list when we believe it will make the format more fun and provide players with more options. As I noted at the top, a lot has changed in the format in the last 4 years, even more so since 2011 when Preordain was banned. Yeah, I think Preordain was the first wave of bans, and I think there was a lot of decks at that time that were playing 4 Ponder, 4 Preordain, and you could almost argue that Preordain was banned because of the sins of Ponder, because Ponder is the better card. And we're going to talk about that. Preordain and Ponder were originally banned due to the amount of consistency they added to powerful Izzet combo decks, Storm and Twin, which have both seen multiple bans since. There was a vision for making Modern a slightly slower format where it's not so frequent that players were dying to their opponent's combination of cards within the first 4 turns of the game. And again, that is 100% true. These decks were just so absurdly consistent because you could just play, like, with the setup of 4 Preordain, 4 Ponder, you would just have access to everything that you wanted at every stage of the game. So having one without the other, it's like you have your peanut butter without your jelly. Well, only make a peanut butter sandwich. On average, Modern is a lot more interactive now, in part due to the Modern Horizon sets. It was a goal of those releases to offer powerful options to stop your opponent's combos and play longer, more interactive games. Which, I don't know about we, because I don't want to speak for everybody watching this video, but I have my dislikes and disdains for some of the cards in Modern Horizons 2 and their impact, but at the end of the day, it did make the format a lot more interactive, and, I do applaud the set for doing so. As a result, we believe that Preordain will do more to boost fairer blue decks rather than simply increase the consistency of combo strategies, which, Yeah, that's a good point. I'm trying to think if there's even a lot of combo decks that play blue. I guess like Breach will play Preordain. I can't really think of any other combo, like necessarily quote unquote combo decks that are playing blue for the most part. This is also part of a goal to give something back to Blue-Red Murktide, which is one of the most popular decks in the modern metagame between the release of MH2 and Lord, and since fallen into favor in part 2 of the Priest of Bowmasters. Cool. Okay, so they want to make Murktide better again. I mean, you know, a lot of people are discussing whether or not the ring should get banned. I think they make some good counterpoints. There are a decent number of answers to it, especially with Orcish Bowmasters. Time will tell, you know, are they not banning the One Ring because of the holiday release? Maybe they want to wait a little bit. Maybe they realize it's, you know, a problematic card. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, there were 16 copies of the ring in top 8, and maybe that's a problem. But, I don't know. You know, we talked about this in the video last week, which you can go watch. But I think for now, like, the play patterns are somewhat decent. You know, I think it's okay. I think we can let it play out a little bit longer. We haven't had our fun yet. As for Pioneer, well, I am interested to see what we say here. The Pioneer metagame continues to have a wide spread of playstyles and archetype representation from tournament to tournament. While there are known pillars in Mono-Green Devotion, Rakdos variants, and creature-centric aggro decks, their metagame shares rise and fall at a healthy clip. Recently, new versions of Lotus Field Control have gotten some extra attention, but its win rate and metagame share sit about where we would expect any reasonable deck to fall. Without a clear top dog or unanswerable archetype pushing other decks out, we've elected for no change at this time. Yeah, I mean, unfortunate. I really think that the play patterns of Mono-Green Devotion are extremely toxic and unhealthy for the format. I understand the arguments for, well, this deck doesn't have substantially high win rate or play, you know, representation, but you have to remember at the end of the day, Magic is supposed to be a game about fun. And is anybody having fun playing against Mono-Green Devotion, regardless of whether it's, you know, winning slightly less than half of its games or whatever? They banned Inverter for having a supposed 49% win rate, which is less than half of its matches. That's not a great win rate. That's not an alarmingly high win rate for a deck to be banned. They banned it because it sucked to play against, and I don't know. I really dislike playing against Mono-Green. I really, really would hope they would do something about it. And given that they haven't, we'll see. I mean, like I said, I'm going to have some Pioneer content, but it's probably going to be a lot more focused on... The channel's going to be probably a lot more focused on Modern in the upcoming months. But I've stated my piece on Mono-Green. You probably don't want to keep hearing me talk about it. I don't want to talk too much about Legacy and Vintage, because those are formats that I don't really have a ton of experience in. I mean, Mind's Desire being unbanned, I do remember playing that card way back in Old Extended, and it was a lot of fun, so maybe I'll give some Mind's Desire Legacy decks a try. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see some Mind's Desire and Legacy. And then Vintage, again, don't play a ton of Vintage, so... Yeah, I mean... Given what my expectations were for specifically Pioneer, I would say this is a largely underwhelming ban list for me personally. You know, it's cool that we're unbanning Preordain and giving some fair blue decks a shot in the arm, which I think they desperately need. And yeah, no changes to Pioneer. I'm actually kind of shocked by that, especially with the regional championships coming up, which is the next one in Atlanta in December. Yeah, I don't have a lot else to say. Again, I've said my piece multiple times on Mono-Green, and relatively fine change for Modern, but nothing too crazy. As always, this has been Doomwake. Let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this ban list, and are you excited to play with Preordain? And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.